Hey everybody, welcome. Namaste. This is a stretchy, slow flow practice. I love strong practices. I love to use strength in my movement, but stretching can feel so good sometimes, right? So this is a practice for those days where we really want to feel and kind of marinate in some of the stretches. I'm going to have a strap for myself because I have a difficult time reaching my hands in some of the binds for yoga. And I'm also going to be using some blocks. So you may want to have a strap or a towel handy if you know that that's something that is challenging for you as well. And blocks are always great. So if you have them and you like them, put them close to your mat. Let's start standing. We'll reach both arms up overhead first. Interlace your fingers, turn your palms to the sky, and start with that first stretch here. Feel as though you're lifting the ribs up and away from the pelvis. If it's not comfortable to turn your palms up, no worries. Just have the thumb and first finger pointing up instead. And then we'll add a little bit of a side bend here. Move your right hip to the right and stretch up and over to your left. See if you can let your ear drop toward your shoulder here. We'll come back up through center. Bump your hips a little bit to the left and stretch up and over to your right. Let's do that one more time each side. Up and over. And up and over. Nice. All right. Moving on here. Come to the front of the mat if you're not there. Release your hands. Put a little bend in your knees and fold forward. Coming into our first forward fold. If your fingertips don't touch the floor, let them rest on something, whether it's your blocks or your legs, and then see if you can let your head hang. Maybe you even let your belly soften a little bit. Could you just let yourself be in this moment, maybe the spine a little bit rounder without needing to work too hard? There's a time and a place for effort. You chose this practice. In this practice today, we're doing a little bit less of that strong effort. Now, lift yourself up halfway. Maybe the fingertips come to shins or blocks. And then step your right foot back, bring your right knee to the mat. Take the arms up overhead again, and then keep your right arm up. Sneak your left arm behind your back as you come up and over to the left. So we're stretching into the right side body, and then there's a little twist too. So my left shoulder is pulling back, and now I'm looking back at my right foot. With your right hand, hold the top outside of the opposite side of the head. So my right hand's holding my left outer head, and you'll find the place that it makes sense for you. Take a breath in and out here. I'm stretching in my body into the front of my right thigh, into the right side body, and you may feel it somewhere different in your body. And then release that. Bring the fingertips down to blocks or the floor. Begin to straighten your left leg and bow forward. Now we're into the back of the left leg, I've got my left calf, I've got my left hip, lots of things working. Take another breath or two here, letting yourself really feel the stretch. We will be back in this pose, so you'll get another chance. And then bend your left knee and bring your hands back to the floor. If they were on blocks, we're stepping back to tabletop. In tabletop, cat and cow. Inhale and round your spine. Let your chin drop towards your chest. Let the shoulder blades flare away from one another. On the exhale, tip the front of your pelvis downward. Let the belly button drop. Even let the shoulder blades come together a little bit here as your chin comes up. And then 2 more times here on your own, rounding the spine with the inhale and dropping the navel on the exhale. And then as you finish this next round, let's take it back into child's pose. Now, if you've taken a lot of my practices, you may know that I don't always love child's pose. It doesn't always feel good to me. So if this is not something that feels good for you, then I want to encourage you to find a shape or a position that does feel really good. Maybe you want to stay with cat and cow. Maybe you'd like to circle your hips. Maybe it's down dog for you instead. If it does feel okay to be in child's pose, let yourself be here. And just for now, see if you can not kind of fix or adjust anything unless it needs to be fixed or adjusted, but just let it be what it is and take in a little information about your body and this moment in it. Then we'll take both hands, walk them over to the right side of the mat. With your right hand, Put it down on top of the left hand and then pull your left sitting bone back. So we're stretching into the left side of the body. 2 breaths here. And then fingertips creep over to the left. Use your left hand to pin the right down and pull back with your right sitting bone now to stretch into that part of the body. Good. Bring yourself back to tabletop and then step your right foot back behind you. Tuck your right toes under and press back. Walk your hands forward so we get a little bit of a different leverage and drop your head. Stretch into the right calf muscles here. And then bring your right foot forward to the front of the mat and walk yourself up to the top of your thigh. With your left arm, stretch up and over to the right. Hold on to the far side of the head, and with your right hand, reach around behind you. So this looks like this. I'm holding the head, I'm leaning to the side. Stay there for another breath or two, noticing where's the tension, and can you just let it be the way that it is, and we'll continue to observe how it changes as we go. Unwind your arms, bring the fingertips back down to the floor or to your blocks, and begin to straighten your right leg as you slide back into Ardha Hanumanasana, half Hanuman, stretching into the back of the right leg. Notice if there's any tension around the neck. What if you could let the head drop? Would that be okay? We'll take one more breath here, and then bend your right knee. And now lift your back leg and start to straighten your right leg until you get some stretch through the back of the right leg. And I'm getting some stretch in my left calf as well. You may or may not find that. Take another breath here and then just quietly step forward and roll up to stand. If you know that rolling up isn't right for you, then hinge your way up. Come all the way back up to stand, and let's reach both arms up overhead again. This time we'll hook the thumbs, stretch up and over to your left first, bump the hips to the right. Back through center, bump the hips over to the left as you stretch to your right. Come back through the center, release your hands and bow forward. Let the legs be a little bent if they want to. Lift up halfway, and then it's left foot back, left knee down. Stretch the arms up overhead. And then take your left hand to your right knee. Your right arm reaches back for a twist. Now, let me show you the front view here. I'm feeling a stretch along the right bicep and into the chest as I reach back. Make sure your arm's not too high so the shoulder doesn't get stressed out about it. I'm also feeling a stretch through my outer right hip, but we want to make sure there's no strain with it. Some of you won't feel much stretch at all, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening, so don't stress if it's feeling like, oh, this isn't a whole lot. You can stay here, or now we're going to take left elbow to right knee, palms come together in prayer, and turn your chest a little bit more to the right. Some of you will prefer now to tuck your back toes and lift your back knee. That'll feel better for you. And if this feels a little congested for your body, you can always take the left fingertips down to the mat or to a block and the right arm up to the sky. So lots of options for how to twist if it feels like this twist isn't really your body's favorite. Good. All right. Lower your hands to the mat, lower your knees, and then one more time, we're back in tabletop. Now, take your right arm up to the sky, stretch, and weave your right shoulder under. Come down onto the right side of your head. In this position, use your left hand as leverage to gently roll onto the outer right shoulder a little bit more. And then make a choice with your left arm. Today, I'm going to take my left hand and place it on top of my right and use that to twist a little bit more onto my right shoulder. You might choose to stretch your left arm forward. Maybe it rests on a block. Or that arm could come behind you. See what works for you. Let's take another breath in and out here. Then lower your left hand down to the mat. Take your right hand back to the mat. Press back into a downward facing dog if that feels okay for you. Good. If down dog isn't working, you know you always have child's pose or any exploration of movement. Now lower the knees again. Step your left foot back behind you. Walk your hands forward. Let's get your left calf stretched. Let your head drop and breathe. Even if it's feeling like, wow, I'm not getting a lot of stretch, you can trust that something's happening. As you finish this next exhale, step your left foot forward toward the front of the mat and come back up to the top of the lunge. We're going to take that twist sequence again here. Take your right hand to the outer left thigh or the top of the leg. Take your left arm back behind you into the twist. So I'm just reaching that arm directly back. Make sure your hand is not higher than your shoulder. We want to feel pretty easy on the neck and shoulder. And then if it feels okay, look back over the fingertips. Incorporate your eyes. So we stay here for a few moments. Check in with your right shoulder, your right neck. Make sure those things all feel okay too. You could stay with this, or now we take elbow to knee and a turn. Maybe the back knee lifts, or maybe you're choosing to bring your hand to a block or to find another variation on the twist. No right or wrong way to do any of these things. One more breath here, and then lower the knee if it lifted. Step it back into your tabletop one more time. We're taking thread the needle over to the other side. Left arm reaches up to the sky and slide your left shoulder under. So let me give you a front view of this one here. As I roll onto my left shoulder, the right hand comes on top of the left, and I use that leverage to roll me over a bit more. That feels good to me. But you may prefer to use the hand by the face as a little bit of support, or to reach it forward, or to wrap it around the back. Wherever you are, breathe. And if you feel a little uncomfortable in the shoulder or neck, you may find that you need a little padding under the shoulder or head to raise it up. So take the time you need. Hit pause where you need to and make this practice make sense for you. Good. All right, we'll unwind and come back into our tabletop position. And then from here, step your left foot forward. Step your right foot forward. Take your feet a little wider and fold forward. This time the hands come to the hips. We'll hinge all the way up to stand. Roll the shoulders back and down. Maybe a little shake out for the legs. Okay, again, reach your arms up toward the ceiling. And this time we're going to fold forward right from there. Lift up halfway. And then step back into downward facing dog from there first. See how that feels. Remember, if down dog doesn't work, you've got other options. From down dog, come forward to plank. Lower yourself down to the mat. Let's lift up into cobra. One of my favorite things to do in cobra, as you may already know, is to look over each shoulder. When I look to my left, I'm getting a little bit of a side bend in my right side, and I'm bending my knee a little bit too. I'm making it a little easier over here on the left. As I do that, I'm feeling a pull through my whole right front body. It's one of the reasons I love this. And then shift so you're looking over the right shoulder. Now the left shoulder comes forward, my right knee bends, and I'm looking in that direction. Good. Come back through to center, and then press yourself back into downward facing dog. From down dog, step your right foot forward and come up into warrior two. Pause in warrior two. Here we want to feel our muscles working for us. So bring your awareness to your feet and to your legs and to the muscles that are supporting your arms. And then we'll start to find a little bit of work here in terms of feeling a stretch. So I know in my body I'm going to need a strap. You may not. What we're doing is a variation on exalted warrior where the right arm comes up, the right elbow bends, and then the left hand comes behind. Maybe your hands meet. My hands don't often meet, and when they do, they're not friendly. So here I'm using a strap. Let me show you what that looks like from behind. One thing that we want to pay attention to when we get into this pose, we'll be here long enough to make it worth it. So if you need to hit pause and go get something to hold on, go for it. Kitchen towels work great. One thing we want to pay attention to is really not letting our heads be pushed forward here. So keep your ears on top of your shoulders. Keep your rib cage pulling back slightly and your tailbone dropping under. So when I do those three things, that helps me to get more into the front of my left shoulder and my right triceps. Let's take another breath or two here. Really let yourself feel this. And then straighten your leg. Release the top hand. If you were using a strap, just use your right hand to set it off to the side. And then take your right hand and pull the back of your left hand a little further along. So now we've got that left shoulder much further behind us. Come into triangle pose. I'm going to use a block on the outside. And now I'm dropping my right ear toward my right shoulder. My left arm is in internal rotation, and I'm getting a stretch to the left side of my neck. Your mileage may vary, as they say. This may be different for you. So just notice what there is to notice, and then play with looking down towards your right big toe and see if there's a stretch through the side of the neck. Take a breath or two right there. Now release your left arm, sweep it along the horizon, take it up over the ear, and let's see if we can find a little bit of something through the left rib cage, the left outer shoulder, maybe into the left lats. As you're stretching up and over, relax your right ear toward the floor. You can let your torso turn a little bit toward the floor too. Good. One more breath here. And then hand comes down and step yourself back to downward facing dog first. If you pause and feel here, can you notice that the two sides of the body feel a little different? Like one arm did something, the other arm didn't. Let's even that out here. We're going to step the left foot forward and come into warrior two. I'm going to grab my strap right away. Settle yourself into warrior two, and when you're ready, we'll bend the left elbow. Take your elbow behind your head and walk your right hand up until it meets the strap or whatever you're working with here. Now, I broke this left elbow a few years ago, and this is a stretch that always feels like, wow, I need more of that. So my left triceps, that's the left upper back arm, really feel the stretch here, especially if I do these three things. Here's the side view. If I bring my head back, if I pull my rib cage back and I tuck my pelvis under, now it's really all about those left triceps. So I'll run through that checklist again. Head moves back so the ears are over the shoulders. Rib cage moves back so I'm not puffing my chest forward. Tailbone drops down a little bit so I'm not tilting my pelvis forward. And that, again, helps me to feel more triceps. Good. Now, as you release, you can drop a strap if you're using it off to the side. Use your left hand to help the right arm a little further along. Some of you will be able to hold on to your thigh. Some of you won't. It's not a big deal either way. And then straighten your left leg and maybe a block under the hand here. I'm feeling my right front shoulder. And on this side, I'm feeling my right obliques get a little bit of a stretch. Now, if I turn my head and look down at my left big toe, now I'm into my right scalenes, that's the side of my neck, and even into my jaw. So play with where you feel the sensation. And don't be afraid to make the pose look a little weird. This is all about finding the stretch, finding the place that works best for you. Now, when we release the right arm, we sweep it up over the ear. We're coming into this sort of side bending triangle. And that's going to feel a little bit different than when we reach the arm directly toward the ceiling. Now I'm feeling my right lower back, my right side, my right waist, my right outer shoulder. Where do you notice a stretch? What feels good for you? Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then take your fingertips down to the mat and let's step forward. So we're coming back into a standing forward fold. Some of you may need your strap for this next bit. You'll find out in a moment. Just know where it is if you're using one. Come all the way up to stand. Clasping your hands behind you can be tricky for some of us. If I'm sweating at all, it doesn't work. So I should be able to do it today, but I want to show you how you would do this with a strap. When we interlace the hands behind us, we're trying to move our arms into external rotation. So if you're using a strap or a kitchen towel or something, we want to hold behind with the fingers and palms facing forward so it would look like this. Now, a little bend in the knees, shoulder blades pull together and down. Take a moment, move your head side to side. Feel that your neck is not involved. The shoulders are pulling away. And now when we bend the knees and come into a forward fold, see how it feels to let the arms float overhead. Breathe here and notice, where's the stretch? Does it feel good to stretch in this way, or is it overly intense? If you find yourself really shaking, like if you find yourself trembling, stay with it a couple more breaths, then it may be that you need to do a little bit less. It may be that your body's not able to really accept the pose, not able to take in that stretch. So we would then need to find a place where we're able to breathe comfortably. Okay, come back up to stand, release the hands, whew, and then back to the front of the mat if you're not already there. Stretch the arms up overhead again and fold forward, please. Lift up halfway and then step it back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take your right foot forward and come into warrior one. In warrior one, bring your elbows into a cactus shape. Bring the elbows together in front of you and take your right arm and lay it in the crook of the left elbow. So the right arm sweeps across. Pull down. Those of you who are comfortable in eagle arms, you're welcome to do that instead. So just a different way to get a similar stretch. Now, as you pull down with your shoulder, drop your ear to the shoulder and just go whichever direction makes sense. You'll know. Good. One more breath here. And then stretch the arms up again. Fold forward, step forward, and right foot steps back into warrior one. So we're doing same pose on the second side. Sweep your left arm across, pull the shoulder blade down. Good, drop your opposite ear to the opposite shoulder, whichever one you didn't do. Stretch into the neck, stretch into the back. If you've got eagle arms, you may feel your forearms a bit. Good. And then as you release the hands, take your fingertips down to blocks or down to the floor and fold forward over the left leg because I owed you this stretch and you didn't get it. We did the right side, but not the left. Good. One more breath here. And then step back, downward facing dog. Some of you noticed right away, and you probably paused and did it. Some of you were thinking, I don't even remember doing that on the first side. It was during the early lunges. All right. Make your way now to sit. Take your two legs in front of you. And let's come to lie down on the back. And moving into a bridge pose from here. So push the feet into the floor and lift up. Feel the muscles in the back of the hips doing the work, glutes engage. And then let's try interlacing the hands beneath you. If you're not able to comfortably interlace your hands, don't despair. It's like totally fine. Instead, you are going to hold the outer edges of your mat. That externally rotates the arms in the same way. It gives you a little extra support. You can feel maybe your shoulder bones, the arms of your upper the bones of your upper arms resting on the floor. And now, rather than having your chin tucked here, see if you can look up and a little bit toward your eyebrows. So there's some space under the back of the neck. Last breath here in your bridge pose. And then release, roll down onto your back. Cross your left knee over the right knee so the knees are close to one another. Shift your hips to the left and drop your knees to the right. Supine twist with the left knee crossed over the right. Take your left arm out to the left, and you can either reach the arm straight or maybe you have it in a little bit of a goalpost, or the left arm could arc up and around the ear. Some of you will be feeling a stretch through the outer hip, through the back, into the left chest muscles, even into the left bicep. As you stay and breathe here for another few moments, see if you can take in the sensations. Roll back through to center. It's our last pose before we rest. Cross your right knee over the left. Move your hips to the right. Drop your knees to the left. And the right elbow comes out to the right in a goalpost, or arcs up around your head, or the right arm reaches straight out to the right. So in 30 minutes, we moved quite a bit through several planes of motion. We stretched into lots of different areas of the body. And now in the last moment or two, I'm going to take just another moment or two to rest quietly. Find a position that makes sense for you. Maybe that's Shavasana with the legs long and the arms by the sides. Or maybe today you would prefer seated meditation. Even in a 30-minute practice, we can shift a lot of energy. We can move so many things through our bodies. So let's take just this last minute and see if we can let that be digested. Let this practice metabolize itself in our bodies. You don't need to think about the practice. You just need to rest and breathe and trust that the work is doing what it needs to do. Okay. If you have longer and you're able to stay, please feel free. Otherwise, let's roll over to your left side and press back up to a seat. And reconnect again with your experience. How do you feel? How's your body? How's your mood? If it feels right to bring the hands to heart center and drop your chin to your chest, you can do that. Maybe just one more breath here to thank our bodies for the work that they did today. And I want to thank you for watching, for practicing with me, and for taking care of yourselves. It's so important that each of us do what we can to support ourselves so that we can then go out and do good work with each other in the world. Thank you for all that you do. Thanks for being here with me. Hope to see you soon. Be well.